Hello, I'm Ray Campbell, Senior Accessibility Analyst with SPR Consulting. Today I'd like to discuss accessibility of websites, web applications, and mobile applications. Why should you make your applications and websites accessible? Well, for one thing, there are 54 million U.S. residents with disabilities who represent over $220 billion in spending power. There are many more people with disabilities around the world who also represent a significant amount in spending power. And if you're not reaching out to that customer base, someone else in your field is. Additionally, it will soon be the law to make websites, web applications, and mobile apps accessible. Currently, federal government sites are required to be accessible under Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act. Soon, the United States Department of Justice will release regulations requiring that private business make their sites and applications accessible. What does it mean to make a site or app accessible? Well, it means that any and all users, regardless of ability, can access all of the features and functions of the site or application. For example, on a website, pictures which contain information need to be captioned so that someone who is blind using screen reading technology is going to be able to understand the information they contain. Form fields need to have descriptive label text which tells a user what data needs to be entered into them. Information communicated in audio form needs to be captioned so that someone who is deaf or hard of hearing can access that information. And these captions need to be synchronized with the audio so that they communicate the same information at the same time. Today, more of us are doing things with mobile devices using apps. iPhones and iPads, Android phones and tablets have accessibility features built in. However, your apps need to be designed to take full advantage of these features. For example, if you have a control on an app that just says button, someone using screen reading technology is not going to know what that button does unless you label it properly. If you have a picker which allows you to make different choices, if someone is swiping their hand up and down on the picker, say selecting dates on a calendar, they're not going to know what date they're on unless those dates are properly labeled and spoken as the user swipes over them. Testing for accessibility is just as important as testing for functionality and performance of a website or application. So how do you do it? There are validation tools which will help you determine if your site or application meets accessibility standards. In addition, you can download versions of screen reading and other software and test them with your application or site so that you can have some idea of how accessible your site or application is going to be. There is no substitute, however, for having native users of screen reading and other software test your site or application to make sure that it is as accessible as it can possibly be. Being accessible does not mean just complying with standards. The app also needs to be usable so that it's easy to find, understand, interact with, and input the information that is required. So in summary, it is important and will soon be the law to make sites and apps accessible. There are many things that you can do as an app or site developer to ensure accessibility, and it is just as important to test for accessibility just as it is for other functionality and performance. If you would like more information on website and app accessibility testing, please visit www.spr.com.